Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you again so much for being here. As several of you continue to stream in live on Zoom as well as YouTube, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Doyle Gurungadas, and I'm one of your co-hosts for this morning's or evening's talk, wherever you are tuning in from around the world. This is a 10-part Pathways to Perfection series on the 9 processes of devotional service as outlined by Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is our 7th session, and we will be hearing about Vandanam, offering prayers from His Grace Amarendra Prabhu. Amarendra Prabhu is a beloved speaker. He's quite enlivening and dynamic, invited all over the world, and we're grateful to have him here with us. Even though in his early 20s, he inspires many to hear, study, and apply bhakti wisdom in their daily life. He's an initiated disciple of His Holiness Radha Govinda Das Goswami Maharaj, and he holds a master's in electrical engineering and a master's in information technology management. He teaches several Bhakti Shastri classes to devotees around the world. And I just heard, fresh, hot off the press, that from his university studies, he recently scored one of a top near perfect score in Sanskrit at his university studies. And so he is a Sanskrit scholar to boot. But beyond just knowing information and knowing shlokas, he has deep realization, and he has an ability to convey that in a way that is accessible and relevant for all of us. So we're really, really honored and grateful and overjoyed to have you with us, Amarendra Prabhu. The class will go for approximately 1 hour. So it's 9 a.m. here in New York, and so it'll be about 10 o'clock, maybe a little after 10, 60 to 70 minutes of speaking time. And then we will field questions and answers. So if anybody has any questions, you can write them directly to Yashoda Dulal Prabhu in the chat. He will field all of your questions, and then we'll have space for you to on a personal level, ask questions. Okay, without further ado, thank you again, Amarendra Prabhu, and the floor is yours. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Doyal Gauranga Prabhu. Thank you, Yashoda Dulal Prabhu, for kindly and lovingly, affectionately inviting me to this very prestigious stage, I would say, where the most fundamental, the most exalted topic of bhakti is being discussed. And my obeisances to all the exalted speakers who have enlightened the devotees till now, and the exalted speakers who are yet to come. I don't know how I fit in there. Maybe duality is just the rule of life. So I somehow find my little spot to sneak in and have your association. But very grateful to all the devotees, very specifically of the Bhakti Center, and also the other temples who are hosting. My obeisances to all the wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are streaming in from different parts of the world to participate in this ongoing seminar. I would say 10-part seminar, started off by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj very wonderfully on the overview of the 9 processes of bhakti. So I've been asked to speak on the topic of Vandanam, or offering prayers. So I would like to take your permission to quickly screen share and start today's presentation. Is it something that is yeah, you can see. Okay, wonderful. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, welcome everyone to the Pathways to Perfection series. This is the limb of bhakti called as Vandanam, I do understand we would have devotees coming from different parts of the world, from different backgrounds. Some of us would be practicing devotees, and some of us would have just entered the school of bhakti. Some of us would be seasoned over decades of practice. Some of us would have a background where we can understand a bit of Sanskrit words. And some of us would have a background where the shlokas are too overwhelming and bewildering. So we have tried our bit in today's presentation in such a way that we all from different parts of the world, from different ranks on the ladder of bhakti, can try to relate to this presentation. Something informative, yet something when applied could be transformative. Something descriptive, yet something prescriptive. Something that is theoretical for the head, yet at the same time practical to the heart. So I would request all of you in a prayerful mood. I would request all of you to kindly offer your blessings and the best wishes of your heart. May the right words come at the right time, in the right prayerful spirit of glorification of the process of prayers. And may this endeavor purify our consciousness. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So as we know, the word for prayer in Sanskrit is Vandanam. And the word for material entanglement or being bound in this world is called Bandhanam. The word Bandhan means to be completely bound up. So I thought this was quite poetic, that if we really want freedom from Bandhanam, we have to take to the process of Vandanam. The shelter is at the lotus feet of Krishna when it is sought in a prayerful mood. Before we dive straight into today's discussion, we want to see the context. We want to see the context of Vandanam in the overall discussion of this whole series. We want to see, first of all, the importance of this series. So with a grateful heart, I want to offer my obeisances to the organizers for giving such a beautiful platform where bhakti can be discussed in such a systematic, holistic manner. We see here the attraction principle in this world, whether it's the deer which get attracted by the ear, they get attracted to the flute sound of the hunter, or to the base we can see the cows there. I remember when I went to Govardhan Eco Village in Mumbai, I went with some grass in my hand, and I wanted to show it to the cows, but none of the cows were interested. They really were not interested. So I looked to the brahmachari and said, I thought the cows would eat grass, and I'm trying to push this grass into their mouth, but they're not interested. So he said, oh, familiarity always breeds contempt. They get grass every day. I'll give you a trick. And then he gave me a little jaggery. He gave me something very sweet. And I held jaggery in my hand and took it close to the mouth of a cow. And then, interestingly, all the cows in that cowshed were so attracted, they were literally pushing each other to get that piece of jaggery from my hand. So I was really fascinated to see that as much as the ear of the deer get attracted to the flute sound in this world, so much does the tongue of the cow get attracted to something very tasty. Not just the cows, we see even ants getting attracted to something very sweet. Not that we really have to drop something sweet on the floor, but Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport that even if there's something very sweet left off on the 20th floor of a certain tower, the ants find their way to get there. So that's the attraction principle in this world. The tongue, can drag animals even up to the level of death. Think about the rats. The rats could be completely happy eating something natural in the field, but the desire to taste something sweet and something different. And that's the reason the rats get into different domestic territories, and then they get trapped in the rat trap. Also, we see the example of the fish. The fish could live all its life comfortably, peacefully, safe underwater, but it gets tempted by the bait of the fisherman. Something very sweet, something very tasty, and it's even ready to lose its life. So whether it's the attraction through the tongue or attraction to the ear, or whether it's attraction through the eye, look at the glowworm right there. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj was once explaining something very beautiful in his class. He said that in Mayapur, Maharaj was sitting with his god brother under a tree. It was a dark night, and they were sitting under a tree and talking. And Maharaj mentioned at that time that suddenly his god brother pointed to the glowworms in the tree and said, "Look, Maharaj, they're so beautiful. It's almost like Christmas. They've lit up the whole tree by their body, and they're so beautiful." And Srila Rajanath Maharaj asked the god brother that, why do you think they are lit up? Why do you think the glowworms, glow like this in night, in the under the night sky? So the god brother said, actually, they can't do it during the day because the sun overpowers their potency. But at night time is the only time when the male can attract the female and gain some attention by glowing through his body. And he has to exert so much pressure and so much energy just to have that little flickering glow. And then the light dampens with time. It gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and the male has to exert more pressure and more energy just to attract the female by the eye. The more the male glows, the more female gets attracted in the glowworm species. And Maharaj, during the class, he was mentioning that, look, just for some flickering pleasure, the glowworm is ready to even lose its life by exerting pressure. So anyway, the fundamental point is the concept or the principle of attraction is found in all species, whether it's through the eye as the glowworm, whether it's through the ear as the deer, whether it's through the tongue as the rat or the fish or the cow or the ant that we spoke about. And then what to speak of the nose? Think about all the the whole perfume scent industry, where we are all interested about, look, having that fragrance and that aroma, and some of us just want to hide the stink of the body also, just overpowered by the fragrance. So this is the attractive principle. But interestingly, the point to note is this attraction is not something that comes naturally to us, in the sense that it's not that we are attractive. We look for something outside of us which we want to hold to make ourselves attractive. Look at the Mataji. Maybe she's beautiful, but generally the conception or the context of the thought process here is that when I put on the ornaments, then I look more beautiful than I was before. Yeah, especially for the female. Then you see the ring there. The ring may be beautiful, but without the diamond, it may not be that beautiful. So we're all attracted to something or someone or somehow in different circumstances, but we need a reason, we need a cause for that attraction, whether it's the ornaments on the person which makes the person more beautiful, or whether it's the diamond in that ring which makes it more beautiful, or whether it's just the sunrise which makes the gopuram on the top of the temple beautiful in the third picture. Maybe at night the gopuram is still beautiful, but it's not appreciated so much as the rising of the sun. So we can see that we're all attracted to something, someone, or somehow in different circumstances, but there's a reason why we're attracted. And when that reason is lost, our attraction principle shifts. Where is the root of all this attraction? Is an interesting question to ask. The Chaitanya Charitamrita describes the root of all attraction is Sri Krishna. There's a very beautiful definition to the word Krishna in Sanskrit. If you see the breakup of the word Krishna, it's actually the combination of two words. Krishi bhuvachako shabdho nascha nivrittivachakah tayor aikyam parabrahma Krishna ityabhidhiyate. This verse actually comes in the Mahabharata, which is quoted by Jiva Goswami also, which is quoted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very popular verse, something that we can put an asterisk to. It's a must-learn verse because we're all trying to be Krishna conscious. But if someone asks us, what does the word Krishna mean? Of course, we have the answer as all attractive. But in the root of all etymological breakup in the Sanskrit language, from the linguistic perspective, the word Krish means all attraction. The word Krish means attraction. Krishi bhuvachako shabdha. The person who is the root cause of all creation, who is so attractive that everything ultimately moves only towards the creator, that is Sri Krishna. And what does the word na mean? Nascha nivritti vachaka. The syllable na means sweetness. The word Krish means greatness. The word na means sweetness, and when they come together, they become the all attractive. How beautiful is that? So sometimes some of us may be sweet in our dealings, but we may not be the greatest, or let's say we may not be great in prowess. And some of us may be great in our prowess and ability and influence, but our dealings may not be sweet. But Krishna at the same time is the abode of greatness and the abode of sweetness. And therefore, when he comes together, he is the root of all attraction. Krishna, in the Nectar of Devotion, it is described by Rupa Goswami that Krishna attracts everyone through four principles, primarily, over even Vishnu. You can remember the four F's. He attracts everyone through his form, F for form. He attracts everyone through his flute, F for flute. F for frolics. He attracts everyone through his pastimes or his frolicking activities. And then F for friends. He attracts everyone through his loving associates. So Rupa Madhuri is the form. Venu Madhuri is the flute. Leela Madhuri is the frolicking nature of Krishna. And the Prema Madhuri are the fun-loving friends and the associates that Krishna has. This is so attractive. Krishna is so attractive that it is described that even Vishnu gets attracted to Krishna. Even Vishnu gets attracted to Krishna. And you can read the 10th canto for that. How beautifully there's a story of how a certain personality kept on losing his children one after the other. And then when he came to Krishna and he said, why my children are dying immediately? Is it because I'm sinful? What is the reason? I'm the father and I'm losing one child after the other. And it's a long story, but the culmination of the story is such that they try to find out if all the children are with Yamaraj, the god of death. And Yamaraj puts his hand up and says, no, they're not with me. And they point towards Indra. Maybe Indra knows, maybe Brahma knows, maybe Shiva knows, maybe Vishnu knows. And ultimately, when all of this happens, it's described that Krishna, along with Arjuna and the Brahmana, they go searching from one place to another, and finally they reach Vaikuntha, the abode of Vishnu. And there, when they get to know the actual reason, they all smile. Krishna smiles in shyness, while Arjuna and the Brahmana, they smile in excitement. Vishnu smiles in jubilation. He's happy. The reason is, Vishnu mentions that I have kept all the children here in my abode because I wanted to come and take darshan of Krishna. But I couldn't have left my abode to come and see the beautiful form of Krishna. So I had to do something by which Krishna would come and give me his darshan. I've heard so much about his beautiful form, but this is the time I'm taking darshan. So on one level, we could say Vishnu and Krishna are completely non-different. But Vishnu, in his four-handed feature, gets attracted to Krishna in his two-handed feature. And similarly, you can find in the pages of the Bhagavatam how Krishna himself gets attracted to his own reflection. Now, that might sound really someone very proud and egotistic, but that's just reality. Krishna is so beautiful, he doesn't realize the reflection is actually the reflection of his own form. Krishna looks into the waters of the Yamuna, and he sometimes, in innocence, he asks the waters of the Yamuna, who is this beautiful person whose face you are attracted to? So Krishna gets attracted to himself. Lakshmi Devi gets attracted to Krishna. Vishnu gets attracted to Krishna. Those are the examples for the form. And similarly, you can see Krishna, when he starts playing the flute, how the cows forget to chew and swallow, and the calves forget to suck the udder of their mother and drink the milk. Everyone forgets their identity, and they're all completely attracted through the ear, through the eyes, through the nose, through the lips, and through the sense of touch towards Sri Krishna. So therefore, I sometimes say when Krishna plays the flute, what happens? The ears of the cows are full, and the hearts of the cows are overfull. The hearts overflow and overflood in joy. So in this way, Krishna is the root of all attraction. He is very attractive through his form and through the flute playing, through his friends, and what was it? And through his pastimes. Yeah, these are the four F's that Krishna is, that makes Krishna even more attractive than the Vishnu Murtis. But why are we mentioning all this? Why are we talking about the all attractive nature of Krishna? It is because in this world we see, when someone is a multi-millionaire, let's say, can we win their heart with $1? Can we just go to them and give them a $1 bill and say, take this from me? The multi-millionaire or the multi-billionaire would say, I'm sitting on the mountain of cash, and you can buy me with that one $1 bill. And same, you can see the example of the bulb, the electric bulb. Imagine there's someone who has a complete electric bulb industry. If you go to him with an electric bulb and say, look, I have an electric bulb for you, he would say, well, I have the whole industry. I have a multi-billion dollar industry. And you're trying to purchase me on the power of one electric bulb, or let's say one tube light? That's the nature of this world. Someone who has $1 billion can be purchased and impressed with $1. Someone, let's say with an electric bulb company, can be impressed with one electric bulb. But look at Krishna. He is the root of all attraction. He is the multi-million, multi-billion, quadrillion emperor. He's the emperor of the whole creation. But you just take one little flower from his own creation and give it to him, and he comes riding on his Garuda to help and reciprocate with Gajendra. When he offered that king of elephants, just offered one flower, Krishna could say, well, wait a minute. You're trying to win my heart with one flower, that which belongs to my own creation. It's not like you created a flower of your own. You just take one of the flowers, and look how many flowers are there in that one pond. How many lotus flowers are there in that picture? And Krishna is Namo Pankaja Nabhaya, Namo Pankaja Maline, Namo Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangraye. His face is a lotus face. His eyes are lotus petal-like eyes. His hands are lotus palms. His feet are lotus feet. His navel is lotus navel. From where there is a lotus that comes, on which Brahma appears. And garlands that he wears are all bedecked with lotus flowers. And still, when there's one lotus offered by one elephant, he leaves Vaikuntha to come to that elephant. Look at that Mataji in Vrindavan. She comes with fruits. And Krishna, he who is offering the fruits of all of our activities to us, we get the fruits of our activities by Krishna. And Krishna is attracted by that little fruit vendor who comes and offers a couple of fruits to Krishna. Look at Advaita Acharya there in Gauranga Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Just offers a few tulsi leaves. And the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes down on the power of few tulsi leaves. Dear devotees, the point I'm trying to make is, although Krishna is all attractive, he gets attracted by devotion. So this Pathways to Perfection series is chalked so wonderfully that it actually gives us the platform to understand that yes, he's certainly the all-attractive Lord, but I can attract the all-attractive by giving him something that belongs to his own creation. But Krishna is not hungry to take something that we give if it's bereft of devotion. Krishna is not seeing what we give. Krishna is seeing how we give what we give. Therefore, on the slide, we can see the power of devotion is such that Krishna is hungry, not just for what we give. It's not about giving him a salad or soup or fruits or just a leaf or flower or water. Krishna is seeing how we give what we give. It's possible that I could donate $1 million and still not win Krishna's attention. On the other hand, I could just give a leaf with tears, crying out in a prayerful mood, and Krishna will pick that leaf. So Krishna is not interested in what we give. Krishna is interested in what we give, but most importantly, how we give what we give. Just like when we write a letter. Of course, now we write emails, but think about writing a letter. When you write a letter to someone, the envelope is certainly important, but what's more important is what's in the envelope. That's the letter. So you need three things. You need the right destination address, you need an envelope, and you need the content of the letter. So what's the destination address? Sri Krishna. What's the envelope? What we give, the words that we offer, the activities that we perform. And what's the letter? The contents, the prayerful heart, the devotional spirit behind what we give. So this is what brings us to our topic. Srila Prabhupada mentions in Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita chapter 4, Krishna listens to our talks when they are sincere and prayerful. And the example Prabhupada gives is that of Lord Brahma. Prabhupada mentions, think about how Brahma created the whole creation. When Brahma appeared on the lotus flower from the navel of Vishnu, it was pitch dark. The whole creation was bereft of any light. Brahma was all by himself, lonely, but he didn't get depressed and morose. He tried to find out what's happening, you know, who's around, and how can I connect with someone, and what's the purpose of my life. Brahma tried on his own, but didn't succeed. Prabhupada explains Brahma got off the lotus flower on which he appeared and went down up to the stem of that lotus, the root of the stem of that lotus. And he came up to the navel of the Lord, but he still couldn't find anything. And then what happened? He climbed up the stem of the lotus and sat on top of the lotus from where he appeared. And Prabhupada explains, Brahma heard two syllables, ta and pa, twice. Tapa, which means austerity, which means offer prayers, which means get into meditation, which means get into contemplative samadhi. And Prabhupada explains that Brahma closed his eyes and he meditated. He offered prayers. And on the power of one pointed contemplative, helpless meditation in a desperate mood, Brahma was tene brahmaridaya adi kavaye muhyanti yat surayah. He was injected, he was empowered with this spirit by which he could blast out a transcendental material creation out of nothing, just on the power of his prayer. So Prabhupada explains that one sincere jiva who's lost in the darkness of indecisiveness, if he offers prayers to Krishna, Krishna empowers him to have a beautiful creation amidst that darkness. Prabhupada is a classic example. Prabhupada, in his old age, as His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj says, it was a lifetime in preparation to fulfill that one instruction of his Guru Maharaj. And Prabhupada, like Brahmaji, felt darkness. He was feeling in my household life with children and wife and a business, being in India, how am I going to succeed? How am I going to fulfill the instruction of my Guru Maharaj? And like Brahmaji, Prabhupada offered the prayer on the Jaladuta. And we see how beautifully everything, rest is history. Prabhupada blasted out an inconceivable impossibility. Just like Brahma, he made a beautiful, wonderful creation, but Brahma made a material creation. And Prabhupada created the spiritual world in that material creation on the power of his prayer. How wonderful is that? So dear devotees, this is something that is very, very fundamental to all of us. Even if we are atheistic, we say, oh my God, where does that come from? Because it's just natural for us to offer prayers. Now, in the 9 limbs of bhakti, we see, again, as Dayal Gauranga Prabhu was introducing and mentioning about Prahlad Maharaj's verse, he mentioned that the 9 different limbs are to hear about Krishna. But what happens when we are hearing? Sometimes we doze off, we go off to sleep. Kirtanam, we are interested in Kirtan, but in Japa, we again doze off. What about Vishnu Smaranam? Out of 24 hours, how many hours are we actually thinking about Krishna? Hardly a few seconds every day, if we have to be honest. And Pada Sevanam, His Grace Hari Parshad Prabhu beautifully explained about Pada Sevanam. We see that also is not something that we're all constantly performing. Same with Archanam, deity worship. We may also give excuses that, well, I'm living a corporate life. It's difficult for me to have elaborate deity worship and worship the deities nicely. And then what to speak of Sakhyam and Dasyam and Atmanivedanam. But we see Vandanam is something that we all connect to, because wherever we are, however we are, whichever part of the world we are, when life kicks us hard with reversals, we have no way out. Even doctors, sometimes they put their hand up and say, only God can help now. You offer your prayers. On the power of your prayers, things can change. So therefore, there's a saying that life is fragile, handle with prayer. Just like we talk about parcels, it's fragile, handle with care. So life is fragile, handle with prayer. What's the definition of prayer? We talk about Vandanam. What is the definition of Vandanam? We find here, this is coming from the Sri Gaudiya Giti, from the Gaudiya Kantahar, which again takes it from another beautiful book. So the definition of Vandanam has been given very wonderfully here. Tatpada Padma Pravanaihi Kaya Mana subhashitaihi pranamo vasudevasya vandanam kathyate budhaihi. Vandanam or prayer, kathyate budhaihi. The great intelligent saints, they opine that Vandanam is defined as follows. Tat pada padma pravanaihi. Pada padma means lotus feet. Tat pada padma, Krishna's lotus feet, or the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Pravanaihi, when we are deeply attached to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. How? Kaya, mana, and sabhashitaihi. Kaya means through body, mana through mind, and bhasha means through words, through body, mind, and words. Very interesting, very easy. BMW. Through body, mind, and words. When we are attached to the Supreme Lord through body, mind, and words, in a certain circumstance, it could be temporary, but in a certain circumstance. And in that mood, pranamo vasudevasya, when we bow down to him through body and in a helpless way, pranama means to offer obeisances, but it also means when we submit ourselves and surrender ourselves to him in a helpless manner, that is called vandanam. So dear devotees, it's not just said here that prayers mean something that erupts like fountain of flowery words from our mouth. Well, that's one part of it. But what's the complete understanding of prayer? Point number one, there must be attachment to Krishna in a helpless manner. Like Draupadi, like Gajendra. When they called out to Krishna, they were helpless, they were attached, they were absorbed, they were attentive. And all three of them, the body, mind, and words were in line, expressing that inner thought. And not just that, pranamo, they were still depending on the Supreme Lord. My Lord, you are still free. You can protect me if you want. You may not offer me your protection and let me go through this reversal. But my Lord, I am helplessly, in a desperate way, expressing through words my inner explosion, my inner explosive feeling of helplessness, desperation, like a child, complete dependence of surrender. This is what I want to express through my expression of words, my Lord. So tat pada padma pravanaihi. First of all, there must be attachment to Krishna in a certain circumstance, in a certain emotion. It could be out of fear, in danger. It could be out of gratitude. It could be out of tears of gratitude that, my Lord, you're doing so much for me. Look, I'm not even reciprocating. So that's also an attachment, temporary, but we feel emotional attachment. And then we express it through words, through emotions in the heart, and through body by offering obeisances. All of them put together, vandanam kathyate budhaihi. This is the definition of vandanam that we can all remember. In the outside world also, you see so many beautiful, wonderful quotes. There is power in prayer. When men work, they work. But when men pray, God works. This is very, very interesting. So many beautiful quotes of Srila Prabhupada also. When there is some earthquake or there is some danger, naturally, spontaneously we pray, but we forget it. The tendency of offering prayer to the Lord at the time of danger is automatic. So we should know that we are in danger. That's in this world. We are in this material condition of life, means we are in danger. Therefore, we should pray. No conscious prayers go in vain. They're transmitted positively. Any prayer you offer to your spiritual master and spiritual master is conveyed to Krishna, no sincere prayers go in vain. Remembrance and prayers also can give us the desired result if they are properly done under expert guidance. You see here, Prabhupada is making this point that we are in a precarious state in this world, and therefore we should never forget that. Whether it's, every morning as we chant, we sing, Samsara dava nalalidhaloka tranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam. Samsara davanala. What does the word davanala mean? Davanala means a forest fire. So what is a forest fire? There is forest fire all over the place. There is forest fire in the stomach of hunger and thirst. And there's forest fire in the heart of envy and greed and lamentation. There's forest fire in our speech in the form of harsh speech and criticism. There is forest fire outside in the form of changing weather and temperature. Forest fire in relationships. Forest fire as far as distress is concerned. So there's heat all over the place. And Prabhupada says, intelligence or humility means just to understand that we are in a precarious state and to remember Krishna every day. We find His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj also saying a very beautiful thing, which I thought was very wonderful to share. Prayer is a very important activity we have. It is a private talk between the devotee and the Lord. Akrura simply attained perfection by praying. In Skanda Puran, the glories of prayers are mentioned. A devotee whose tongue is decorated always with prayers is greatly respected even by saintly persons, and such devotees are worshipable by demigods. It also helps us to establish our personal relationship with Krishna because we are praying to Him, as that is our communication with the Lord. So here we see that he talks about, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj talks about a private talk between the devotee and the Lord. Prabhupada once, when he came to a certain temple, it was crowded with devotees. Prabhupada came close to the deities, and devotees from different parts of the country had come. And they came so close to Prabhupada. And His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj explains that I was the one next to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was looking at the deities in a royal, regal Bengali style. He had his head hung, looking at the deities, and his lips were moving. So His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj says that I was interested to know what kind of prayers Prabhupada offers. So I stuck my ear close to Prabhupada's lotus lips. And Prabhupada was looking at the deities and saying, Krishna, do they dress you like this every day? And there was some pause. And after a few seconds, again, Srila Prabhupada said, okay, do they feed you well? And again, there was pause. And after some time, Prabhupada said, okay, wonderful. Do they wake you up on time and put you to sleep on time and do the artis on time? And again, he looked at the deities, and there was again a few seconds of silence. Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what's happening. And later when I came to Prabhupada, and I asked Prabhupada, that Prabhupada, what were you speaking? Prabhupada didn't say anything. He was quiet. But when the temple president came to give his report and told Prabhupada, actually we are offering, so many offerings a day. We are, this is our update. And Prabhupada said, yes, I know. How do you know, Prabhupada? He said, Krishna told me. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, oh, Krishna meaning Krishna in the heart? Prabhupada said, no, Krishna as the deity told me. And then Prabhupada said this very famous statement that the deity has appeared in our lives to talk to us. Now we have to offer prayers in a submissive mode so that we can reciprocate to the talks of the deity. So here His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj says we have to offer prayers, and that's a private one-to-one talk that the devotee has with the Lord. And akrura gain perfection, he says. So there are examples for all the 9 limbs of bhakti, like for hearing and perfecting the process of bhakti just through the ear. We have the example of Parikshit Maharaj. And then we have the example for Kirtanam, Shukadev Goswami, because he spoke for 7 days. He glorified Krishna and connected with Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj connected by Shravanam, Shukdev Goswami connected to Kirtanam, and then through Vishnu Smaranam, we see Prahlad Maharaj always remembering the Supreme Lord and connecting through Smaranam. And through Pada Sevanam, we have the example of Lakshmi. Lakshmi Devi is always massaging the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and connecting. And then we have Archanam, Prithu Maharaj. Vandanam, Akrura. This is why Srila Jayapataka Maharaj says Akrura gained perfection by praying. Because as Akrura went from Mathura to Vrindavan, he was constantly praying, oh, what great fortune has touched my life. Although I'm going on behalf of Kamsa Maharaj, I'm getting the fortune of entering Braja and seeing the beautiful Lords Krishna and Balaram with my eyes. Oh, what great fortune. And then he's planning in his mind, as soon as I see their lotus feet, I will jump off the chariot and touch them to my heart. So Akrura had so much devotion, and he expressed that through his prayer. So that's Akrura for Vandanam. And for Dasyam, we have Hanuman. For Sakyam, we have Arjuna. For Atma Nivedanam, we have Bali Maharaj. And someone who did all 9 is Ambarish Maharaj. So we have very beautiful examples like that. And finally, one last quote, which I really liked. Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj says, the foundational prayer of our movement by Srila Prabhupada is to become puppet in the hands of Krishna. When we take credit for what we do, our strings are cut. You see, Srila Prabhupada on the Jaladuta, he prayed to Krishna, my Lord, I'm a puppet in your hands. You are the puppeteer, I'm the puppet. Kashtera puthali jata nachao se mate, nachao nachao prabhu nachao se mate. My Lord, I'm simply a puppet in your hands, and you are the puppeteer. And the strings by which you connect is causeless mercy. And I am ready to dance the way you make me dance. I don't know to dance, my Lord, which means On my own ability, I can't do anything. But if you empower me, then I can. So what is prayer? When we have to think about prayer in a mathematical term, what God can minus what we can is prayer. What God can minus what we can is prayer. What we can on our own is just our ability. When we are very proud of our ability, we don't find a reason to pray. But when we understand, I'm insignificant, and my Lord, now you airlift me. You airlift me. And then wonderful things are done. So this is a very wonderful, um, um, you know, distinguishing factor that we can see. Without prayer, our heart is like a barren land. It has no proper flower, no fruits, no grains growing in the form of good qualities. Because we are so proud that I did this, I can do that, I accomplished this, I have so many people under me. By my prowess and influence, all of this is happening. But with prayers, we see our heart becomes like a garden full of rose petals, very fragrant. And most importantly, without the sharp thorns of the lotus, our heart becomes very fragrant. Without prayer, it's like we driving a car amidst traffic. We have to try maneuvering to the best of our ability. But with prayer, it's like an helicopter airlift. We just drop the car right there, and the helicopter comes and lifts us and takes us hundreds and hundreds of miles in no time. So which means Krishna, when he empowers us, it's like an helicopter airlifting someone. We on our own cannot. But if Krishna wants, he empowers us, and impossible things become possible. Without prayer, we are hungry. And with prayer, that's like the mother's breast milk to the child. That is how much prayer is important. Imagine how important the breast milk is important for the infant, for the baby. That's how important prayer is to a devotee. I was reading the Bible, and it said that prayer is as important to the practitioner as much as breath is important to be alive. That's like the saying. I'm of course paraphrasing, but as important as oxygen, so important is prayer. We see without prayer, we can practice spiritual life, but after some time it becomes monotonous. We become mechanical, lethargic. It's just going through the motions. I wake up, I chant, I sit, I run around a plant at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I do the same motion. I move my hands and legs in the same way. And then we see after a few years, weeds are growing in our heart of fault finding and superiority complex and envy towards those who are doing better than us. Because our life is, we are going through the motions without the emotions. This is very important. When in spiritual life, we go through the motions without the emotions, we get lethargic, we get mechanical, we get monotonous. We think we have achieved a lot. But with prayer, we see we get empowered. Now, just think about Prabhupada's life. It's just impossible. It's impossible. Even for someone like of my age, let's say at 28, it's impossible to go into a foreign land without internet, without manpower, without money, without any facility, materially speaking. Prabhupada was facing so many reversals. Maybe that's another discussion. How many defeats Prabhupada had to face when he came to America? One after another. The doors were just closing. Prabhupada was asking for the money to buy a property, and the money was not released by the Indian government. Nothing was happening. Finally, when Prabhupada was helpless, it's described that when Prabhupada thought, okay, this is not working, I'll do this. I have a plan B instead of plan A. When B doesn't work, I have C. When C doesn't work, I have D. But Prabhupada ultimately went up to plan K, which is Krishna. He depended on Krishna at every single point. You can't imagine. Prabhupada was sharing his apartment with a person called David. And he thought that, well, he will help Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was even writing letters that, I'm going to initiate David, and he's going to be the first American who's going to speak about Krishna. And guess what? Prabhupada was sharing the room with him. And one night, David gets intoxicated. He's completely under the influence of drugs, and he has a loaded gun. And he looks at Prabhupada and said, Swami, I want to shoot you down. And Prabhupada is helpless in the middle of the night. He takes his typewriter on one side, he takes his briefcase on the other, and runs in the middle of the street and gets into the apartment of someone who was coming for his programs. And that was Mike. Believe it or not, that Mike became Mukunda Goswami later. So one after another, Prabhupada's facing so many reversals. But what kept Prabhupada going? At the age of 70 and 75, when people can't even walk up the stairs, Prabhupada was teaching everyone to walk up the stairs of material nature to go back home, back to God. Materially speaking, it's impossible for someone from, let's say, traditional Calcutta to go to Boston. His Prabhupada has such a heavy Bengali accent, and it's difficult for Prabhupada to understand the American accent. But forget about all of these things. Forget about all the material inconveniences. Prabhupada had a prayerful heart. He was depending. He had put his hand up. He said, my Lord, on my own, I can't. Now, if you see, we have internet. We have facility for everything. You can sit at home and you can browse. Where is the closest store possible that I can buy fruits and vegetables and flowers? But it's described when Prabhupada came to America, for the first 8 days, he had to fast. He didn't have anything. He didn't know where to procure food from so that he could offer to Krishna. He was just living off milk and water and whatnot. So if you see, for someone beyond the age of 70, he may have stomach problems, he may have arthritis, he may have varicose veins, he may have slip disc, whatnot. But going through all of that, beyond the material conditioning, helping others, and in thousands, influencing everyone to take to the shelter of the holy name, and writing books in the middle of the night, distributing them, having so many temples come up, it's certainly a miracle. This is God's ability. And what differentiates our ability from God's ability is a prayerful heart. So we all must offer prayers. We all must offer prayers. When we don't offer prayers, what happens is we see our stink in the form of our ability. We go up like this, like a shooting star, and when time's up, we come down. Whether we are a sports star, whether we are a celebrity, whether we are an actor or an actress, you see, we all have our up peak, and then we have our downhill. But Prabhupada started his career at 70. You tell me, even from a material perspective, who does that? And who succeeds? Who does it? So when we don't pray, it's our stink in the form of just our ability, our proud, our egoistic ability. But when we pray, it's God's ability that the world smells. It's the aroma, the fragrance that the world experiences. Prabhupada was carrying the fragrance of Krishna's empowerment. And that's what, like a magnet, attracted everyone. You see on the examples from Shastra now, after building up from worldly examples, we see in the aspect of scriptural examples, we see 3 examples in this slide. To the left, you have the example of Narsimananda Brahmachari in Gaura Leela. For those of us who don't know about this pastime, cut to the chase real quick. Narsimananda Brahmachari was the personification of prayers. He, through his meditation, would offer services to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, he was such a prayerful, humble, grateful devotee that constantly absorbed in praying to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that the offerings that he would give Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his mind, Mahaprabhu would accept in person. Like Narasimhananda Brahmachari's typical service was to create pathways, roads for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his meditation. He would decorate the roads with lotus and rose petals. He would decorate the sidewalks with beautiful trees and fruits and flowers. All of this in the mind. He would pray to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "Oh Mahaprabhu, please accept this service of mine. Externally, I may not have the facility and the paraphernalia and the ingredients to offer this excellent service. But in my mind, through a prayerful mind and prayerful heart, I want to offer this to you." And it's interesting to see that Mahaprabhu would accept that through mental meditation. Just prayers, nothing else. Look at him. He didn't have anything around him. He was a brahmachari. All that he had was the power of prayers. He would pray, "Mahaprabhu, please accept it. I don't have anything else. Please accept, my Lord. Please accept." Same to the right, you see the example of the South Indian Brahmana, very famous. In his mind, he would offer sweet rice to the Supreme Lord. In his mind. Externally, he didn't have any paraphernalia, any ingredients to offer sweet rice to the Supreme Lord. But in his mind, with a prayerful heart, he would offer, "My Lord, please accept this. This is all that I have. Please accept and make my life blessed, my Lord. I am very sinful. I know you have many reasons why you shouldn't accept this offering of mine. But just because I belong to you, and I yearn and I long with this desire that may you accept my offering. With this prayerful heart, he would offer. And guess what? In his mind, the sweet rice that he was cooking, in his mind, he put his finger into the pot to see if it was hot or cold. And then, in reality, he saw his finger getting burnt. So the meditation that he had in his mind of putting his finger into the hot pot of sweet rice, in reality, the finger got burnt. And Lakshmi and Narayana in Vaikuntha, they were smiling. That look at the power of his prayer. Look at the power of his samadhi. That in his mind, he was offering the sweet rice, which was hot. And in reality, his finger got burnt. Therefore, Prabhupada says, things which are offered by the devotees, even in meditation, which means through prayers, are accepted by the Lord, and they help one achieve the desired result. So maybe we are not praying enough, dear devotees. We oftentimes say that, oh, I've been chanting Hare Krishna for so many years, but Prabhu or Mataji, what's the way out? I'm reading Shastra. I've got my first initiation. I've got my second initiation. I have all the ticks, in life, but where am I lacking? What's that glitch? What's that speed breaker that I'm not able to, what's that barricade that I'm not able to cross over? Dear devotees, that's the answer. We are not praying enough. We are not connecting to Krishna enough. Just like we look around for sympathy, we look around for comfort, we look around for solution, we look around for solace. Why not just go to Krishna and speak our heart out? Let's just go to Krishna for every single thing in life. You're not finding your spectacles, just walk out to Krishna. You're not finding your glasses you kept it here. Go to Krishna and say, Krishna, what is this? I know you're a thief. I know you like to steal butter from the neighbor's house. I know you like to steal the heart of Radharani. I know you like to steal the complexion of the rain cloud. But why would you steal my glasses? Why would you do that? Of course, someone would think this person's gone crazy. He's going to Krishna for lost glasses. But here's the thing, dear devotees. What happened to Gajendra was ordinary. So many times on television, you can see examples of elephants getting caught by crocodiles. So many times. But not all of those cases are recorded by Shukadev Goswami in the pages of the Bhagavatam. Why? What happened to Gajendra was ordinary. But his response to that ordinary situation made it extraordinary. I repeat that again, dear devotees. What happened to Gajendra was ordinary. What happened to the king of elephants was just ordinary. He just went into a water pond and a crocodile accidentally, caught his feet and wouldn't let go. So that's ordinary. You see so many animals attack each other into the forest. But what made Gajendra stand out in the pages of the Bhagavatam is his response to that situation. Think about Draupadi. It's a sad state in this world today that in different parts of the world, there are so many women who get unfortunately attacked. So what you see there was from a worldview, something that was happening every day. But why all the cases are not recorded? Only Draupadi is recorded. Because what happened to her, of course, unfortunate, but from that perspective, was something that was happening with other places in other places as well. But her response to that ordinary situation was extraordinary. Gajendra, what happened to him was normal. But the way he responded to that made it super normal. It made it extraordinary. So dear devotees, what happens to us may be very petty. We may have just lost our glasses, for example. But you can make that ordinary situation special by just connecting to Krishna. But just going to Krishna and saying, Krishna, I want this. Krishna, just connecting as a friend, talking to Krishna. This is all. This is prayer. We don't have to learn Sanskrit. And of course, it's not that scholastic approach or scholarship is not discouraged, but we may come from different cultural background. You can just offer prayer to Krishna in your own mother tongue. Krishna knows all languages. Someone who speaks Russian can offer prayers in Russian. If you and I can speak Russian, Krishna definitely can speak Russian. So you can offer prayers to Krishna in German. Just offer prayers to Krishna in English. Speak your heart out. Sometimes devotees ask me, can we offer prayers from the Bhagavatam? Definitely we can. But apart from that, we need to add something of our own too. In the sense that the Sanskrit prayers are wonderful, but connect them to real life. Like give Krishna a context that Krishna, this is what I'm going through. Please, Krishna, help me. And then you can offer the prayers of the Acharyas. The third point on the slide, you can see the example of Narada Muni. Narada Muni in his previous life as the son of a maid servant, he had the darshan of Krishna, but then that darshan disappeared. That presence of Krishna's form disappeared. And Narada Muni was crying and weeping. But what happened? Krishna just wanted to intensify the pot, the heat in the pot of his heart by increasing, regulating, and increasing the spirit of his prayerful mood. Because it shouldn't happen that he slackens out, that I've already seen Krishna. So Krishna wanted to intensify his prayer. And when his prayer got intensified, he became Narada Muni. Dear devotees, 4 take-home points that we can think about. This is something that we can write. When we think about, I don't know what to pray to Krishna, you can write these 4 slides down. It's very, very interesting. First thing, look behind and thank Krishna. Best example is Kunti Devi. She looked behind in life and thanked Krishna. Krishna, you see the prayers of Kunti. She connects to Krishna with her past. She tells Krishna, oh, Krishna, my children were poisoned, but you protected them. The house was set on fire, but you protected them. The 5 children were murdered, but you protected them. The daughter-in-law was disrobed in mid-assembly, but you protected her. They were sent into the forest, but you protected them. Krishna, now that you're leaving, who is there for us? Always connection with what has connecting with Krishna with what has happened in the past. In fact, Draupadi went one step ahead to say that you have showered mercy on me that you didn't even shower on your own mother, Devaki. When you appeared to Devaki in the prison house of Mathura, you protected your mother, but you did not protect the children of your mother. The 6 children of Devaki were killed by Kamsa. You protected your mother, but you did not protect the children of your mother. But look at my life. You protected me and my children. Krishna, thank you. So we may not have that kind of connection where our house is set on fire or children are poisoned, etc. But we can just look back at life and sit down and contemplate. Just take a notebook and a pencil. Just take a pad, writing pad. Just sit there. So many times we get so overwhelmed with going from one program to another, from one kirtan to another, from one class to another, especially with COVID. We have so many Zoom classes going on. It's like a spring water. It's like fountain, like, one after another, somebody or the other is speaking. So sometimes it's possible we may have a desire to go and attend and hop through one meeting after another. But I would say sometimes just take your time. Just sit there for half an hour. Don't do anything. Sit on the table with your writing pad and a pencil and write down things in life, in the past that have happened, that you think Krishna actually intervened. A grateful heart is someone who can see Krishna's hand. Now, is that all in all? No. Look ahead and trust Krishna like Prahlad. Look behind and thank Krishna, but look ahead and trust Krishna. Second kind of prayer is something where we call out to Krishna because we don't know what's coming up in the future. One, you connect with Krishna, connect your past to Krishna. Second, you connect your future to Krishna. Look at Prahlad Maharaj. All the time, he was poisoned. He was attacked with deadly weapons. He was thrown from the top of a cliff. He was put into a pit of poisonous snakes. He was sent at the feet of the stampede of mad elephants. He was given every possible torturous situation, even tossed into fire. But he trusted Krishna. Why? You see there, dear devotees, he has his hands. He has his joined palms in the spirit of Vandanam. If we have that spirit, then Krishna will break the pillar in a half man, half lion incarnation, which means an impossibility to come and save us. Krishna did not come as Narasimhadev to destroy Hiranyakashipu. One heart attack could have done that. But he came just to protect Prahlad because Prahlad was praying. So we look back and thank Krishna. We look ahead and trust Krishna. In the corporate environment, we're asked, where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? The answer is, I don't know really. From a spiritual perspective, I don't know if I'll be alive. But Krishna, my prayer is, may I be spiritual. Days are passing, years are coming going and passing by real quick. Time's flying, one birthday after another. My Lord, let me make the best use of this human form. I have heard so much, I have read so much, but now I just need to practice. I just need to connect with you. Krishna, you don't want anything else from me except my heart. Think about it. What does Krishna want from us? He just wants our heart. He doesn't even want our money. He's Lakshmipati. He's the Lord of the goddess of fortune. What we do is we try to impress him with our donations. Of course, that's not wrong, but Krishna's not just looking for our money. We give money to Krishna and we give our heart to this world. But we should be ready to give our heart to Krishna and money to this world. So we look ahead and trust Krishna. Third, we look within and find Krishna. And the example of that is Dhruva. Dhruva practiced and prayed to the Supreme Lord. Another example of folded palms. It just took him 6 months. Dear devotees, sometimes devotees ask this question: can we go to Krishna with a material prayer? My answer is, why not? When we say you can go to godmen, you can believe in, astrology, you can go to demigods. You've put all of these books out of your window. Now, the only one we have on our altar is Krishna. And the father likes to know every single thing in the life of the son. The son would just say, Dad, I just lost this pencil. Can you just help me? Now, the father would be like a managing director for a big multinational company. But just because the son goes to him and says, Dad, I can't find this pencil, the father goes down on his knees and said, okay, I'll help you. You see, Krishna likes when we connect with him. Dear devotees, let us not think that Krishna just wants to hear the spiritual things from us. Well, that's, of course, first class. That's first class. We're not saying that. There's no debate on that. That's definitely first class. But you can't just go there. You can't just jump there. Being on the road, you can't just fly. You have to go to the airport first and then take your flight. So first you have to come to the airport, which means connect to Krishna from wherever we are. You're finding a problem with your job, connect to Krishna. You're having a problem in your marriage, connect to Krishna. You think you have trouble raising your kids, connect to Krishna. You have some problem with your health, connect to Krishna. Just speak to Krishna. Why is it that I'm calling out your names, but my mind is not attentive? Krishna, I feel relieved after I finish the 16 rounds, which means I just want to get done with it. Just speak to him. This is a prayer. Speak, connect your situation, connect your feelings with Krishna. This is what Dhruva did. He just went and spoke to Krishna as a 5-year-old child. I want a house bigger than my house, bigger my father's house, bigger than my grandfather and great-grandfather's house. And then what happened? Before he got the house, he got Krishna, just because he was intense. So as we connect to Krishna, even with the material prayer, the process of praying becomes so intense that it cleanses all the material coverings. Then when Krishna actually appears, we say, Krishna, I found you. I don't want anything else. I don't want anything else. But when we jump to that platform, we fall back because we're not there. So let us connect from the point where we are. Anything. It could be anything. Just go and talk to Krishna. Just build a situation. Just take advantage of the situation. Whether it's happiness, go and tell Krishna, thank you. Thank you. I never expected this. Just share your emotions. We are sentient beings, dear devotees. And if something is just a reversal, go and cry in front of Krishna. We need a shoulder to cry on. We need people around to sympathize with us. Just go to Krishna. Just go to Krishna and cry. How do I face this? That's a prayer. Your heart is completely in line, in attachment to Krishna, and your words are expressing that. So look behind and thank Krishna. Look ahead and trust Krishna. Look within and find Krishna. Most importantly, dear devotees, look around and serve Krishna. That is Srila Prabhupada. So these are 4 things we can pray for. First, look behind and thank Krishna for what has happened. Second, look ahead and trust Krishna. Pray to Krishna, my Lord, may I see your hand in situations. May I not be stuck between who did what. May I be able to see your hand. May I find you in everything, Krishna. May I be able to connect with you. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, cry for Krishna. And if you can cry for Krishna, cry in front of Krishna that I'm not able to cry for Krishna. You see? So if I'm not able to pray, pray to Krishna that may I be able to connect with you and pray. And even as devotees, as preachers, as outreach spiritualists, we can pray to Krishna, please empower me. May I connect more and more souls in the right manner. May I speak the right words at the right time to inspire the right people. May I not bombard them. May I not hurl javelins of philosophy at them and shoo them away once and for all. May I give them the right examples? May I give them the right sweet balls, which attracts them to Krishna consciousness? May I spread the sweetness, my Lord. You sit on my tongue. My Lord, please empower me. You see, you could pray for practically anything. Or you could pray in repentance. Look at Indra in the first example, to the left. He's praying, repenting for what he did at the Govardhan Leela. To the right, look at Arjuna. He is crying to Krishna in repentance. My Lord, I thought you were just my friend. Sakheti matva prasabham yaduktam he Krishna he Yadava he Sakheti janata mahimanam tavedam maya pramadat pranayena vapi yachava hasartham asatkritopi vihara shayyasana bhojaneshu ekotavapyachyuta tat samaksham tat kshamaye tvamaham prameyam. My Lord, I just thought you were my friend. I thought you were a driver. You were just a charioteer. But now I realize you are the spiritual master of the whole creation. So repentance. We could connect with Krishna through repentance. To the left is Indra. To the right is Arjuna. So we can offer prayers begging forgiveness. My Lord, I made a mistake. At the end of the day, we can write down our stuff. Like you can write an analysis. My Lord, these were the good things that I did in my sadhana. These were the improvements that I can bring in. And for the improvements, we pray the next day, my Lord, just regulate my sleep. I'm not sleeping at the right time. It could be as petty as that. Who cares? You're involving Krishna in your sleep. That's good. Krishna, every time I see a rasgulla, I overeat. Please help me. You regulate, my Lord. It could be as simple as that. Remembering Krishna is more important than the reason why you remember him for. Think about the third example, the Nagapatnis, the wives of Kaliya. They're praying for Kaliya. So you could pray for someone. You see, I'm giving examples how we could connect. You could pray to Krishna for someone in your family, someone in your friend circle. Krishna, just melt their heart. Krishna, please accept them. So the wives are praying for Kaliya. Or you could pray like Uddhava. That's the fourth example right there and third on the list. Uddhava is praying that may I live in Vrindavan. That's a prayer you could offer. Krishna, like we offer it to Tulsi every day. Seva adhikara diye koro nija dasi. Make me your maid servant and let me live in Vrindavan. So we say it every morning like a parrot. But how many of us are actually internalizing it with the meaning? So you could pray for the past. You could pray for the future. You could just pray to find Krishna in situations. You could pray to empower others through our preaching. You could pray begging forgiveness. You could pray in repentance like Arjuna. You could pray with a desire to live in Vrindavan like Uddhava. Or you could pray like the wives of the serpent Kaliya, just begging that, my Lord, you please accept my husband. You please accept my wife. You please make my teenage children Krishna conscious. I'm trying my bit, but that's all that I can do. You please attract them through some means or the other. So dear devotees, this is what. The Sanskrit terms could be overwhelming, but I've just written that for record purpose. If you like, you can take a screenshot of this screen, of this slide. There are 10 different types of prayers you can offer. I'll just very quickly tell you. Samprarthanatmika means you just describe Krishna, the beauty of his form, etc. Swadainya bodhika, you tell Krishna how fallen I am. You see, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, so many of their prayers are, Krishna, I am wretched, I am fallen, I have made these mistakes, etc. Or the third kind is Manashiksha, where the mind is used as an instrument, as a disciple. Oh mind, please worship Krishna. Bhaja hure mana Shri Nandanandana abhaya charanara vindare. Oh mind, please worship Krishna. That's Manashiksha. Or fourth in lamentation. Oh, alas, alas, my whole human life is gone and I've been drinking the poison of, typical. Then Vaishnav Mahima Prakashika, glorifying the Vaishnavas. How glorious are the Vaishnavas? Shri Guru Vaishnava Vijñapti Rupa, calling out to Shri Guru. Guru Dev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Trinape Khayati Na. Or Shri Dhama Vasa, Lipsatmika, when will I live in Vrindavan? Or Sadhaka Deha Lalasa Suchika, When will it happen? When will that day come when I will smear the dust of the feet of the devotees on my head? Things like that. So Sridhama Vasa is when will I live in the Dham? Sadhaka Deha is when will I serve the devotees? And Siddha Deha is what will I serve? When will that day be mine when I will be fanning Lalita? I will be fanning the divine couple under the guidance of Lalita and Vishaka. And finally, Akshepa Bodhika means, oh my Lord, I have left your association and I'm wandering in this world. Please accept me. You see? So in this way, these are just the Sanskrit classifications, but you can take a screenshot and introspect. How can I connect with Krishna in any of these 10 different methods? These are the different examples and some advantages of praying as we wrap up our self-explanatory. We see Krishna's hand in situations, therefore naturally we become humble. We become compassionate because we're praying for others. Our respect for others increases. As Prabhupada, we see oppositions can be overcome. Mind becomes very pure because we're always remembering Krishna. We become detached of the fruits. We're always content. And we see even small desires get fulfilled. And in the large picture, Krishna works miracles through us. Some practical steps, dear devotees. Relate your material circumstances and offer prayers. Keep a note of the prayers of the Bhagavatam. You can chant them definitely because they're pure. They come from devotional sources in a helpless mood. Take shelter of the Vaishnav songs of Narottam Das Thakur and Sri Thakur as Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Sometimes people say, why do you have to tell Krishna who's all-knowing? Why do you have to say, he knows everything? Well, he knows everything, but he likes when you go and speak to him. The son would be smoking, and the father would probably catch the son smoking secretly. Not catch, not spot, but he would just probably, find out that the son's smoking. So the father knows that the son is smoking. But when the son comes with tears and tells the father, I got to confess, I have to tell you something, Dad, I've gotten into this bad habit of smoking. I don't know how to tell you. What happens? The father already knows it, but his heart melts now that the son is revealing his heart. So you can tell Krishna, Krishna, you've given me so much. You've given me a human form. You've given me devotion in my heart. You've given me cognitive ability. You've given me physical ability. I'm not blind. I'm not deaf. I'm not dumb. My hands and legs move. You've given me financial stability. I have a house. I have good food. I have good clothing, good education and healthcare. I have good association of devotees. I have temples, environment where I can practice. You've given me the classes. You've given me the kirtans. You've given me the books. You've given me the deities. You've given me everything wonderful and colorful, Krishna. How is it that I don't have millions and millions of reasons to thank you? So this could be a fundamental point of connecting with Krishna. And what I finally call as the diary analysis is something that we can introspect on. We can keep a diary and every day see how our days are going. For all the good things, we can pray to Krishna and connect with gratitude, and all the improvements that we can bring in, we can pray for that. Dear devotees, Prabhupada says habit is a second nature, so practice. And finally, the secret of doing good to others is secretly doing good to oneself. So when we want to do good to others, the secret of that is praying for empowerment. So when you secretly do good to oneself, you get empowered to do. That's the secret of doing good to others. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. In the time that we had, I tried to share a few thoughts, but now I would be very, very happy to open the floor for questions, comments, suggestions, improvements, and any queries that I could probably answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Amarendra Prabhu. This was so wonderful and so all-encompassing. There's a lot of questions, so I'm going to speed through a very brief, like 3-slide presentation, just a couple of announcements, and then we'll launch into the questions. If you're okay, can we go a few minutes over and answer?
Absolutely. All my time is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you. We have a lot of people on YouTube and a lot of people on Zoom. Lots of love and comments coming in, appreciating this class. So let me share my screen, and here we go. Okay, so this is session 7 of the 10-part series, Pathways to Perfection. We have 3 more coming up. Archana Siddhi Devi, Bhakti Rasamrit Swami, and Sachinandan Swami will be the next three speakers. I'll speak about the next speaker in a second. This series is organized by the Bhakti Center, and it's co-hosted by several centers in the New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Virginia region. You can see their names and their websites on here. Each of these centers also has wonderful sanghas going on, many on weekends. The first one, New Jersey, Towaco, 6 days a week. So please go to their websites and check out all the great stuff that's happening in those temples and those centers online as well. And the next speaker is Archana Siddhi Devi. She's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada's. She's been a Bhakti Yogini for 45 years. She's a trained psychotherapist. My introduction to Archana Siddhi Devi was when I first joined Krishna Consciousness. I'd started subscribing to Back to Godhead magazine, which is Srila Prabhupada's magazine that he started in 1944, I believe. Anyway, and I would see all these wonderful articles from someone called Archana Siddhi Devi Dasi. And it was years later that I actually met her and her husband. They're both trained Grihastha counselors. They conduct so many seminars and sessions for helping Grihasthas with their relationships and marriages. And so she comes from a deep place of understanding of bhakti as well as relationships. So please join us next Saturday at the same time for what will be another wonderful session with Archana Siddhi Devi. She's been on all these sessions also on Zoom. And in fact, Sri Prahlad Prabhu and his wife, Sri Gandharvika Devi, they're also on this session, and they've been on all these series. Sri Prahlad, of course, spoke earlier in this series. So with that, I want to launch into questions. So the first question comes from Nitya Kishori. Whenever we get a request, and we see a lot of this currently with COVID and devotees falling sick, but we get requests from our friends to offer prayers for this person or that person or for their loved ones. How should we pray, and what should be our prayer?
Wonderful. Yes, we should definitely pray, because at every moment we should pray for empowerment, for gratitude and reciprocation. So what we pray is on, this is something that's really interesting. So I don't want to take off on a tangent, but I want to address this point. Sometimes we get so devotionally exalted that we forget the humanness behind the whole practice. So sometimes just to pray for someone, it's an emotion that's just natural for us. And what we should pray is, Krishna, please nurse them back to health, so that they can be absorbed in your service. It's definitely possible that when they come back to, sound health, they will offer at least a flower to Krishna. So they are definitely adding more than where they are at this point. So we pray, Krishna, nurse them back. We want their association. We want to be, dipped in their holy association. And you nurse them back to health. Let them come to sound health. And with all their ability, through thought, word, and deed, let them be absorbed in your service, my Lord. This is all that I want. And it's interesting, when we pray for others, we get a commission of that empowerment. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would say that the person who prays for others is the person whom Krishna blesses first. So definitely we should pray. And oftentimes devotees say, Prabhu, can you pray for me? Can you pray for me? And what I personally like to do is I like to take note of their names, and if there is something specific that they want me to pray about. Because sometimes devotees say, Prabhu, can you pray for me? And then I like to pause and say, is it something specific, something that you can share with me? And I would like to sit down with them, because it's no longer a casual talk after that. When they say, pray for me, it's something serious. It's something intense. So I sit with them, and sometimes it's, my husband's going through a certain problem. My father's detected with some health illness. So I like to take names. And then when I offer my seva to my Thakurji, my Radha Krishna, I like to call out their names and tell Krishna that, Krishna, this devotee from this place is having this illness and reached out to me. So Krishna, I want you to nurse them back to health. As Srila Jayapataka Maharaj would say, when he would ask his disciples, pray for me, he would say, pray to Krishna to get me back to health, but then add a clause, if you so desire. That's very important. Krishna, if you so desire. So we put our point, because Krishna, he may have a desire, but then by the power of the Vaishnav prayer, it's sometimes possible that Krishna can not break, but kind of round up the edges of his planning. So I like to sit down and take their names and what the specific point is. But if it's something very personal, I just leave it as a personal prayer. I tell Krishna that this person in this place has asked for a personal prayer. You know what it is about. You please kindly intervene. So sometimes devotees, they don't have a specific prayer. They say, Prabhu, just in general, pray for me. It's nothing specific, just pray for me. So at that time, I announce their name in front of my deities, and I say that, Krishna, please make sure that they get more taste in the path of bhakti. The weeds on the path of bhakti get uprooted. May they have more taste in hearing and chanting, and may they develop relationships with the Vaishnavas. I'm pretty sure with that, everything is included. So yeah. Oftentimes in devotees, in Vaishnava communities, it goes around, Prabhu, please pray for me. Prabhu, please pray for me. So it shouldn't be something that we're just saying on the tongue that we don't mean. Every single thing that we say should be backed up with some certain genuine sincerity and some emotion. So that's something that I like. And I also personally, I like to say that to someone whose association benefits me. You see, we always like to be in such a high-class devotee association from whom we learn a lot, whose instructions we obey and abide by, whose presence, whose thought process has influenced and helped us, and whose presence just uplifts us. So to such devotees, I go and I like to say that, Prabhu, please pray for me. Because generally what happens, and I'm pretty sure we all face this. When we go around and we say, Prabhu, please pray for me, the other devotee will say, Prabhu, what can I pray for you? You please pray for me that I should be able to pray for you. And then you say that, it just goes around and you don't get to any discussion. So I like to keep it, personally, I like to keep it to those superiors, present this to those superiors who wouldn't say that, who would really take my appeal, my babyish appeal, my childlike appeal, and they will pray for me, and they are my superiors. So like that. So when people talk to us, at least I like to take names, and if there's something specific that we can offer prayers, and sometimes what I do is I like to do, if they say that, can you offer some tulsi on my behalf? So what I do is I keep different days on my phone, on my calendar. I have today's puja to my Thakurji is on behalf of this family. It's almost like a temple, but it's just in the temple of my heart. So in that way, when someone says pray for me, there must be some substance behind it. It shouldn't just be like some word jugglery in thin air. So these are my thoughts.
Thank you. The next set of questions, actually, there's a lot of questions on praying for satisfying our material desires, and devotees feeling embarrassed knowing that Krishna is not our order supplier, and we shouldn't really pray for something material, we should pray for something spiritual, but we are at the stage where we are. And one devotee even said, should we pray to demigods instead because it's material? So, there's a lot of questions around that theme. If you can shed light on that, please.
Sure. Yeah. So Krishna says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions those who are ananyas chinta. Ananya means, anya in Sanskrit means something else. And before that anya means negation. So an plus anya means nothing else. So two meanings to ananyas chinta, which means one, I will not look at anyone except the lords of my life. You see, I will not look to the left. I'll not look to the right. Whatever I want, I'll ask Krishna. I will ask Sri Ram or Narsingadev or whoever our Ishtadev is, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha Krishna. So even if I don't get it, that's fine. It's like a Chataka Pakshi. Garjasi Megana Yachasi Toyam Chataka Pakshi Vyakulitoham. In Sanskrit poetry, there's a conception of the Chataka Pakshi. The Chataka Pakshi is a bird which will not even drink the Ganga water of this world, but just wants the rainwater straight from the rain cloud. So the point is, its attachment is not to water, its attachment is to the rain cloud. And whatever the rain cloud gives is what I will take. You see, if its attachment was to water, you would probably find a Chataka Pakshi trying to sip in the drops of water from an open tap. But it doesn't. Its attachment is to the cloud, the source, more than the water. So if our attachment is to Krishna, then whether we get it or we don't get it doesn't matter. But I will not go anywhere else. This is first meaning of Ananyas Chintayantuma. That's to start with. First, we have to make a firm decision that Krishna, my attachment to you matters more than my attachment to what I'm asking for. Because when we say, can we just go to demigods instead? What we are actually telling Krishna is, I don't care who fulfills it. I'm just concerned about the fulfillment of what I want. You see? So for me, my desire fulfillment matters more than the source of that fulfillment. And that's not what we want. That's not what we want. As devotees, we should be one-pointed. Whether we get it or we don't get it, whether it's material or spiritual, whether I ask for, I don't ask for, but it must be Krishna. It must be Radha Krishna. That's point number one. Then second meaning of Ananyas Chintayantoma is, I will not ask him anything material because I am the devotee. I am supposed to serve him. He's not my devotee. He's not my servant for him to serve me. You see, I'll tell you a very interesting story. In about 500 years ago, there was a generation of two great devotees. One devotee was Surdas. He was a devotee of Sri Krishna. And another devotee was Tulsidas, who was a devotee of Sri Ram. Now, it's interesting that Surdas and Tulsidas, both being great devotees in their own way, in their own respects, Surdas would not move an inch away from Krishna. And Tulsidas would not move an inch away from Sri Ram. So both would respect each other's opinions, but they would say, no, of course, Ram is Ram. And then Surdas would say, no, but Krishna is Krishna. So it so happened that Surdas once invited Tulsidas to come to Govardhan in Vrindavan. And of course, Surdas was blind. Tulsidas could see. So Tulsidas came there on the request of Surdas, and he came to Govardhan. And they were doing Govardhan Parikrama. And believe it or not, at that time, there was a mad elephant that was running towards them. Of course, Surdas couldn't see this, but he could hear the mad trumpeting sound. So he just climbed up a tree to save himself. And Tulsidas just stood there. And Surdas started shouting. He said, run, run, Tulsi, run. The mad elephant will crush you. You knew to Govardhan, run. Tulsidas said, no, don't worry. I trust Sri Ram more than I trust myself, or I trust the mad elephant, so don't worry. So the mad elephant came close, and Goswami Tulsidas started chanting the name of Sri Ram. And the elephant just sat down. And Tulsidas, into the ear of the Supreme Lord, into the ear of the elephant, chanted the name of the Supreme Lord. He started chanting the name of Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. And the elephant just became completely subdued and pacified and walked past. Surdas, who was up on the tree, he came down and he asked Tulsidas, what happened? And Tulsidas said everything. And Surdas said, how is it that you were fearless? So Tulsidas said, Sri Ram is very powerful. He can protect me from even Ravana, what to speak of this mad elephant. His arrow, one arrow is enough to destroy the whole creation. So I trust he's there to protect me. But then Tulsidas, he flipped it the other way and he asked Surdas, you are chanting the name of Sri Krishna so many times, but I see when time of difficulty came and you ran in on top of the tree, you have no faith in Krishna? Just like I have faith in Sri Ram, you have no faith in Krishna? Surdas said, well, I have faith in Krishna, but I was just not so sure that whether I am supposed to serve Krishna or whether I should call Krishna to serve me. Is this situation so promising for the fact that I should call Krishna down to save me? Saving myself against a mad elephant is my own lookout. Why should I trouble my Lord? So Tulsidas, at that time, he was telling Surdas, I was thinking I actually trusted Sri Ram more than you trusted Krishna in this situation. But seems like you trusted Krishna more than I trusted Sri Ram because you were selfless. But however, from our perspective, we see both these examples are glorious. Why? Because Tulsidas could connect the present situation, which could be a material circumstance, to Krishna, to Sri Ram. And Surdas was thinking, oh, this is such a petty situation. Why should I involve the Supreme Lord? So he's the example of a selfless devotee. And of course, Tulsidas is also selfless, but in this situation, he represents someone who's connecting to Krishna with a material circumstance. So the two meanings of the word Ananya, meaning number one is to look at no one except Krishna. And meaning number two is to ask Krishna nothing except spiritual advancement. But second could still be difficult. But the first is not difficult. First, we have to decide, I will not look at anyone or anything except Sri Radha and Sri Radha Krishna. And I will go to them for everything. I will tell them everything. I will go for material circumstance also to them. You see at Govardhan, when you do Giriraj Parikrama, next time you can see this, there are many devotees who may be facing financial problems. And you can see Govardhan rocks constructed together like a house at the foothill of Govardhan. They may take different rocks of Govardhan and put them together like a house. So when I was doing Giriraj Parikrama for the first time, the devotee told me, you know what this means? The devotee is praying to Giriraj that, can you make a house for me? You know, I'm facing some material circumstance. So nothing wrong. Dear devotees, don't beat yourself down. Yes, of course, it's best to be selfless, but you can't just wake up one day and say, I'm not going to ask Krishna anything. Because what happens is we are not connecting with Krishna enough then. We will just say, okay, whatever happens, let it be. And we try to solve our own problems with our own head. But instead, if you involve Krishna for everything material also, anything, our remembrance and absorption in Krishna is way higher than in the first case. So this is most important. Arjuna, in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, thought he could solve his own problems. That was the problem. He thought he could solve the problems. That was the problem. But when he made Krishna the chariot driver of his life, what happened? He became successful. So he was depending on Krishna for a war. Now, who goes to Krishna for a war? It's like going to Krishna for problems at work. But dear devotees, the greatest philosophical text from the Eastern philosophy is Bhagavad Gita, where one sincere seeker is going to God for material help. You see? So there's nothing wrong. But if you say, well, I will go to someone else instead, then I feel there is something wrong, because the point that the desire fulfillment matters more to us than the person who fulfills it. No, it should be Krishna. And then go to him for anything. It could be something that, well, the bulb got fused, Krishna help me. Or it could be, the toilet paper is done, Krishna help me. It could be anything, just depending on Krishna. Just depending on Krishna. Just depending on Krishna. Gajendra called out to free himself from the crocodile. Draupadi called out for more pieces of cloth. Dhruva called out for attractive land, So in this way, we should call out to Krishna. We should not worry. So these are my thoughts.
Thank you, Amarendra Prabhu. So we are 3 minutes above the scheduled time. So we'll probably go on for another 10 or 12 minutes, if that's
Absolutely.
okay. And try to get as many questions in as possible. Paulomi, a follow-up from what you just answered. Paulomi JPS, she asks a question that is again very relevant in today's time, that we have been intensely praying for exalted devotees who have contracted COVID, for example, but they've ended up passing away. So we understand this is Krishna's plan, but when we talk to non-devotees and we are preaching to them and sharing Krishna consciousness, they turn around and say, well, what's the power of your prayer? Because look what's happening. Krishna's not responding to your prayers. So how do you respond to people who may not have faith about the power of prayer?
Yeah, so we don't want to cast pearls in front of swines, as Prabhupada would say. So not everything is meant for everyone. You see, we have to first see who has the hunger and we have to feed them accordingly. If you see there is someone who's faithless about the point of prayers at this point, then we don't have to throttle down their throat on the importance of prayers at this point. You can just start off from the point that they're comfortable about. We are not a brainwashing philosophy. We are not a propaganda. We are not a cult. We will start off from a point that they are naturally inclined to speak about. Let's say they are comfortable to speak about music. We will start off from there. They like to speak about astrology. We'll start off from there. And then slowly, with time, it comes up. Now, it's like someone who's at second grade asks about differentiation and integration calculus. It's difficult for them to fathom. But that doesn't mean you just give up mathematics completely. You start off from the point that they are in. So I would say someone who's faithless, we wouldn't start about faith to them right then and there. We would start off from something. We would talk. If someone like that confronts me, I would say that's fine. It's not about whether God fulfills it or no. It's just an expression of thanking. You see, you just go to God for what He gives you. You just thank Him. Prayer is not just about asking from God. Prayer is also about offering our heart in gratitude. So a grateful heart is a happy heart. You see, a child who walks up to his parents and says that, I can't, even if I make a shoe out of my skin, for you, I can't repay what you've done for me. How many nights you've gone sleepless just to pat my back when my diapers were full of stool and urine. My parents, you've done so much for me. I realize what you do for me only when I'm a parent myself, you see. Now there, you're not asking them to fulfill something, but you're just sharing your thoughts for the things that they've already fulfilled. So prayer is not just about asking things and fulfilling what we want, but there are so many things that God has fulfilled already in the past. So why pick on one thing that He may not have fulfilled when there are 999 things that He has fulfilled and you can be grateful about? So that's where I think I would start off with.
Thank you. The next question is from Chandan Sahu in Mexico. He asks, can you share some prayers that we can chant on a regular basis? Obviously, you recommended that we talk to Krishna on our own, formulate our own prayers, but are there some prayers from the Shastras that are recommended for devotees?
Absolutely. Go ahead. Here's the list. Let's start off with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1. Chapter 8 is Prayers of Queen Kunti. Now, again, please don't get overwhelmed. I'm going to give you a list of prayers. Not that you have to offer all of them. You can pick and choose either a set that you like, or you can pick a couple of verses from each set and make your own set. That's also fine. I know one Prabhupada disciple, His Grace Mukundadatta Prabhu, who comes and sings at the Sadhu Sangha festival, the scholarly Mukundadatta Prabhu from Vrindavan. When he comes here to Atlanta, it's a feast, it's a treat to see him worship his deities and hear him worship his deities, because he sings prayers from all over the place for his Gopal. And he takes a verse or two from different ashtakams, some different songs and different sets of prayers, and he has his own set. And he was mentioning to us that if you don't have time to chant all the different sets, but you like all of them, you can just take a piece or two from different sets of prayers that you can relate to and then put them together. One devotee was telling me, I'm really afraid to offer that one prayer from the prayers of Queen Kunti. Vipada santuta shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yatsyat apunar bhava darshanam. My Lord, let there be more and more calamity. I said, you don't have to offer that. If you're not comfortable, you don't have to parrot it. We all have verses in the Shastra meant for different consciousness of people. There is someone who's chanting for 50 years, let's say. He would be completely in the air, complete surrender, like the child, up in the air. The father throws the child, playing with the child. The child doesn't get restless because he knows the father is having fun. So sometimes in life, when Krishna throws us, we get restless because we don't have any faith in our father. But those who've been chanting for 50 years, they put their hand up like a child and they may say, let there be more and more calamity, throw me up more and more in the air. It's so much fun, you see. So we don't have to offer prayers that we can't relate to. No problem. You can just take prayers that we can relate. So here's the list, dear devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Prayers of Queen Kunti. Canto 1, Chapter 9, Prayers of Bhishma Dev. Yeah. I'm not naming all of them in the interest of time. We'll take a couple of more questions. Canto 2, Chapter 9, 32, 33, 34, 35, the 4 seed verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The fundamental underlining prayer behind those 4 verses is, my Lord, let me be able to see you in all circumstances. Let me be able to perceive your hand through all of these circumstances. Canto 3, Chapter 31 is actually the set of prayers that the unborn child offers in the womb of the mother. You see, so many times we hear that when we were in the womb, we prayed to Krishna that Krishna, let me out, I will perform bhakti. That's coming from that section. Canto 3, Chapter 31. Prayers of the unborn child in the womb of the mother, praying to Krishna. Now, Canto 4, Chapter 9 is prayers of Dhruva, starting from text 6. Yonta pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptam sanjeevayatyakila shaktidhara swadhamna anyamscha hasta charana shravanatvagadin pranannamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Dhruva is saying, my Lord, when I pray to you, my senses get enlivened. Yeah, starting from that point, 496. Now in Canto 6, we can come to chapter 11, text 24, 25, 26, 27. The 4 seed verses of Vritrasura. I'll repeat the numbers again. 6, 11, 24, 6, 11, 25, 6, 11, 26, 6, 11, 27. The 4 seed verses of the 6th canto. Very beautiful. If you ask me, if something that I would suggest, these are the 4 verses, because they're simple, they're easy to memorize, and something you can just read through the Sanskrit and the English, and something that all 4 of us can, all 4 verses is something that we all can relate to at this condition state. Then in Canto 7, we see the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, again in chapter 9. Just like 4th canto, chapter 9 is prayers of Dhruva. 7th canto, chapter 9 is prayers of Prahlad to Narasimhadev. Those prayers are also very beautiful. You can imagine, a child never speaks lies, especially in Satya Yuga, and that too in front of the Supreme Lord, and that too in front of Narasimhadev, and that too in front of Narasimhadev who has just finished his father. Prahlad cannot speak false. So the prayers of Prahlad are actually the sum and substance of all that exists in creation. Also, Canto 8, chapter 3, text 2 to 29. Prayers of Gajendra. When I asked my Guru Maharaj this question, Srila Guru Maharaj, is there one prayer in the Bhagavatam that you would point me towards that I should chant every day? And even before I finished the line, he said, Gajendra Stuti, the prayers of Gajendra. So I felt inspired, and after that, I started practicing them. You can offer these prayers while bathing, on a lighter note, because Gajendra got Krishna when he was underwater. So we can try our bit to be under the shower and offer these prayers. It's possible you're bathing and Garuda breaks through your bathroom and Vishnu is ready right there. And you say, my Lord, I really didn't mean these prayers. I still have some time on earth. I'm not ready. That's Canto 8. Then Canto 10 is filled with prayers. Chapter 2, prayers of the demigods to the womb of Devaki when Krishna entered Devaki's womb. Canto 10, chapter 2. Satya Vratam, Satya Param Trisatyam, Satyasya Yonim Nihitam Cha Satye. Very beautiful. Satyatmakam Tam Sharanam Prapanna. Very beautiful set of prayers. Then you have Canto 10, chapter 10, that has prayers of Manigriva and Nalakuvera, the 2 trees, Arjuna trees, who offered prayers to Krishna. The 2 sons of Kubera, they were cursed by Narada Muni to be trees, and then, well, of course, we are on the edge of Damodar Leela now, Damodar month, so that's something we can again point our attention towards. And then a few more to name. Canto 10, chapter 14, a big chapter, prayers of Brahma. Canto 10, chapter 16, text 33 to 53, I believe, prayers of the wives of Kaliya. And then, of course, the 5 songs of the gopis, chapter 21, chapter 31, chapter 35, chapter 39, and chapter 47. 1021, 1031, 1035, 1039, 1047. The 5 songs of the gopis. And then, of course, Canto 10, chapter 52, the 7 verses of Rukmini in her love letter to Krishna. That's something, again, we can go towards. And if there's one verse you want to memorize, dear devotees, that's Canto 10, chapter 90, text 48. 10, 90, 48. And apart from this, Prabhupada in the purport says, if you want to offer prayers, he points our consciousness towards 2 prayers, specifically the Brahma Samhita and the Narasimha prayers. Therefore, Narasimha prayers are offered every day. And you find His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu has put this very beautiful practice of singing the Brahma Samhita prayers regularly. So, and if you want to pray still something very simple, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these are some prayers that in the interest of time we can point towards.
Thank you, Amarendra Prabhu. Since there are so many more questions, we are obviously not going to get to all of them, but I am greedy, like I'm sure many people are. We still have over 350 people live on the two platforms, even 15 minutes over time. So I'll try to squeeze in two quick questions and then we'll close this session. One is from Kasturi Manjari Devi. She says, you mentioned about prayers in a submissive mood. How do we cultivate this mood of submission?
By counting out the mistakes that we have made. That's point number one. We must never forget. Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj says there are two things to remember and two things to forget. So the two things to remember are the good things that people do to us and the bad things that we do to others. Two things to remember. And the two things to forget are the good things that we do to others and the bad things that people do to us. At another occasion, Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj said it a little differently. He said the two things to remember are that the sword of death is always hanging over our head and that only the holy name can protect. And the two things to forget are the good we do to others and the bad that people do to us. So how do we get the submissive mood? By remembering the mistakes that we have made in life. We don't have to speak it out. Sometimes what we do is we make it very cheap by speaking out in public that I am very fallen, there's nobody as wretched and fallen as me. I am the most contaminated, polluted. We don't have to say all that. Because what happens is when you let that pressure out of the mouth, we don't feel it enough in the heart. Because by saying that, people think, oh, we're so humble and we're so honest. We should not speak about it, but we should let that pressure, like a pressure cooker, build up in our heart. That I've not in a self destructive manner, not in an inferiority complex, but in a way that I'm not perfect. I have made these mistakes. I have broken the record. We don't have to tell others. We don't have to speak it out, but in our heart, I have broken these regulative principles. I have caused these different troubles and harm and pain in the lives of others. I have manipulated. I have spoken lies. I have tried to, in a deceitful manner, twisted circumstances, and we've all done, right? We're all aware. At least we're aware. We should start thinking about it at least. That's one. And second, more important than that, is to find the solution under expert guidance. So two points to this answer. Point number one, to understand our mistakes. Point number two, to ask for expert guidance. When you go to a doctor and you have a boil on this hand, you don't show this hand. If you show this hand, you don't get any prescription. But we're supposed to show this hand, and this is where we fail. We go to our superiors and we say, Prabhu, I started off with this preaching program. So many books were distributed, and so many people are connected, and so many things are happening. So we try to show this hand to our superiors, and naturally, what we get is a pat on the back. But we fail to show the boil on the other side. So we have to go and speak to someone very confidentially, in a very loving, affectionate manner, to a superior who has time for us, who is very exalted. We are convinced in our head about his position, and in our heart we have natural love and affection, like a father. Basically, you're not distant in awe and reverence, and you're not too close in familiarity. There's the right match. And then you go there and in obedience, you seek help. And you see all through Shastra, wherever there's obedience, there has been success. Bhagavad Gita is successful from Arjuna's standpoint because of two things. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. And after that, karishye vachanam tava. First, I surrender myself as a disciple. And second, I will do what you say. Not karishye vachanam mama. I will do what I feel like. No. Karishye vachanam tava. I will do what you prescribe. This is as far as the Bhagavad Gita is concerned. Now, in the pages of the Bhagavatam, you see Prithu Maharaj was all set to perform the 100th horse sacrifice. But when Brahma came and told him, don't do it, just stop at 99. Because if you touch 100, you're going to touch the envious nerve, the insecure nerve of Indra. So he stopped there. So therefore you see, mathematically, 100 is better than 99. But spiritually here, 99 was better than 100, because this 99 was backed up with obedience to Brahma. So Prithu agreed to stop at 99 instead of going to 100 because he was obedient. And final example, you find in the 8th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, in the churning of the milk ocean pastime, the demons lost it all because they were not obedient. But the demigods were obedient. They were not, they were given the tail of the snake and they were okay with that. They were asked to churn, they were okay with that. They were asked not to complain about the demons, they were okay about that. They were asked not to be greedy about the fruits that, or the gifts that come out of the ocean. They were okay with that. They were asked not to run behind Mohini Murthy getting attracted to the nectar pot. They were okay with that. And naturally, you see, they were the recipients of that nectar because they were obedient. His Grace Bhurijan Prabhu says very beautifully, in spiritual life, you can have so many rules, so many do's and so many don'ts that we forget ultimately what to do and what not to do. There's only one thing to remember: obedience to a high-class Vaishnava. So how to be submissive in our prayer? Point number one, to point out our mistakes, in seclusion, in our diary, something that can be tapped by others, where we can reveal our heart. You can speak to the deity, you can keep a note of the mistakes that we are making, materially and spiritually. And point number two, in obedience, we seek expert guidance. This is my understanding.
Thank you, Amarendra Prabhu. We are way over time, but we really appreciate you taking this time. I'll ask one more question, then I'll hand back to Doyal afterwards for closing out. All these sessions, including today's, can be found on our YouTube channel, the Bhakti Center's channel, called Temple at Bhakti Center. If you type that into YouTube, you'll find that under Pathways to Perfection. This is not a question. Before I get to the question, something sweet. There are many college students and young students on the line today. I've gotten private chats from them. In particular, I wanted to tell you about one. He's a 12-year-old boy, not a college student yet, 12-year-old boy from Maryland. He said, thank you so much. I've been following you on the internet, and first time I'm seeing you live today. I'm very inspired. And he had asked a question which you actually answered through one of your other questions. But I thought that was very sweet and inspiring. That even
What's his name?
Gautam from
Gautam.
Yeah.
Dear Gautam from Maryland, I can't see you, but you can see me. Not that I'm someone to see, but somehow I'm serving this session so you can see me. But I think you're like the Paramatma, where you can see me but I can't see you. I really thank you for being on the call. And at 12 years old, I did not have the spirit of devotion that you're exemplifying and you're expressing. So I pray for you that may all auspiciousness come in your life, academically, emotionally, materially, spiritually, and devotionally. And most importantly, obey your parents and be a good child, okay?
And since I announced that, two more private chats came to me. One is Nishchal. He or she, I don't know if Nishchal is a boy or a girl, is 12 years old. And Hema Kiran from Bangalore is also 15. So quite a few young folks, and we have some proper disciples on the list also. So
my obeisances to all the wonderful senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Please forgive me for the rumbling and jumbling of words that I have been throwing at this assembly for the last 1.5 hours or so. I lack genuine substance. I lack proper practice. I lack realization and experience on the path of bhakti. So may you kindly accept the milk of the essence and leave behind the water of my mistakes.
So in closing, if you can give us something that we can take away. This is a question that a few people have asked. One is Daoji Nitai and another is Arun CK. They talked about the mechanical nature of our prayers sometimes, and how, should we pray anyway, and how do we recite these prayers so that one day we can get to a non-mechanical, genuinely sentiment-filled and emotion-filled state of prayer?
Well, we've already made the first step, where we have started introspecting and seeing that, well, I'm not praying properly. I am just, offering a few words, but I don't really mean what they are. So first and foremost, we should offer prayers with meanings. This is my first take on this point. Because oftentimes what happens is that we are singing Samsara Dava Nalali Dhaloka every morning. Let's start with the morning program. We are singing the Gurvashtakam, we are singing the Tulsi prayers, the Narsinga prayers, and the Shikshashtakam, and the Sri Guru Charana Padma also. So we are singing all of this in Bengali and Sanskrit, but we don't know what they mean, right? And we are singing it every morning, and we still don't know what it means. So that's where that's the first place that we can point towards. What we can do is we can take some time out and take one thing at a time. Let's say Narasimha prayers, and we can sit, and there are enough resources online. KK Songs has a very beautiful word-to-word translation for most of their content. You can see and you can analyze. Ito Narasimha, Parato Narasimha. What does that mean? Yato yato yami tato Narasimha. What does that mean? So when we write it down and then we sing it slowly, right? We first step, we get to the meaning and we understand word to word, at least the general sense of this line. We don't have to get too linguistically complex, but at least to the best that we can. And then with that analysis that we have written, we sit in front of Narasimha Dev and we can go very slow. We don't have to rush. It's not a marathon. We just sit there and we feel it. Namaste Narasimhaya. My Lord, I offer my obeisances unto you. Prahlada, Ahlada, Dayine. You're making Prahlad so happy. My Lord, but Prahlad is already happy. But I'm miserable. I'm having so many problems in life. So if you can touch your lotus palms on my head, maybe even I will be happy. Hiranyakashipu vakshaha, Shilatanka nakhalaye. With the tip of your nails, you have scratched and ripped apart Hiranyakashipu. My Lord, would you be okay to do that with the Hiranyakashipu living in my heart? I have the following flaws in my consciousness. So please do that. So we are going word by word. And what happens is that you see, sometimes we may think, oh, who's going to sing that Narasimha Arati for like 25 minutes? Trust me, it's not going to take that long. In the beginning few days, maybe it'll take that long, but it's good. You feel so fulfilled when you come out, right? You sit in that sacred space of yours, in the temple room of yours, in front of Narasimha Dev, and spend that time. And then after a week or so, of practicing that, you'll see you don't need the book anymore. As you're singing, your eyes are closed and you're meditating. Your heart and your mind is absorbed in the meaning. Your heart is relating to your life, and the tongue is vibrating the sound of the words. So it's in line. And that's how you go for the Gurvashtakam. That's how you do for the Tulsi Arti, the Tulsi prayers. Then what happens is we become enthusiastic to chant them, because we find a need that I need to say this to Narasimha Dev today. I need to beg. But when we don't know what it means, we parrot it in like 10 minutes and we come out and we gain nothing. It's like trying to, try to work out your biceps without a dumbbells. Think about it. You have no dumbbells in your hand and you go like this. What happens is you do it for like 10 minutes and your hand hurts and your faith in dumbbells comes down because you see no effect. You see? That's what happens. You come out because you think after that prayer, you think I just wasted my time. I have no taste for it, and it doesn't work. Why? Because we're not added the spirit, because the dumbbells are missing. So these are my reflections on this point, that when we add the meaning, we add the spirit behind the ritual, then it becomes spiritual. Otherwise, it's just ritual. You add the spirit behind it, then it becomes spirit plus ritual is spiritual. So get to the meaning, and the meaning will open up everything else.
Thank you, Amarendra Prabhu. And I will at this time hand back to Dayal Gauranga Prabhu to take us home, and then we'll open up Zoom for people to say Haribol and thank you.
Thank you again so much, Amarendra Prabhu. It's been wonderful to have you with us. And thank you for all those tuning in around the world. Please join us next week. We just put into the chat boards here on our Zoom link. If you'd like to stay in touch with us at the Bhakti Center, we have a newsletter that we send out these programs as well as other devotional updates that you can be in touch with. You can subscribe there. We also have a WhatsApp channel, YouTube channel that some of you are already tuning in on, an Instagram, and as always, you can find out at bhakticenter.org. We have some ways for people to stay connected in some of our community groups that we've also listed there, whether someone is new or introducing themselves to the path of bhakti or is developing in their devotional path. Our community group web links are there. All of them are taking place online. They're a great way for people to take these teachings and discuss them in a closed group, safe, nurturing community setting. So we hope you can take advantage of those. And as always, we love hearing from you and getting your feedback. So if you ever like to write to us, you can do so at temple@bhakticenter.org. Thank you all again very, very much. We will now open up the Zoom group, unmuting everybody, and you're welcome to share your loud and joyous Hari Bols for Amarendra Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Hari Bol Prabhu.
Amarendra Prabhu.
So
Hari
much,
Bol.
Prabhuji. Hari Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Amarendra Prabhu.
So much. Krishna, Hari Bol.
Bol Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna,
Hari
Prabhuji.
Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna
Dandavat
Prabhu, thank
Pranam.
you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Radhe Radhe, Hari Bol.
Hari
Radhe
Hari
Radhe,
Bol.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Krishna.
From Vrindavan.
Radhe Radhe, Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you.
Amarendra Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hari
Wonderful,
Bol.
wonderful.
Oh, Hari Bol, Yadunath Prabhu. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Nice to see you.
Very
Hari
nice.
Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Lord.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hari Bol. Thank you
Hare
all for
Krishna,
coming.
Amarendra Prabhu.
Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna.
Thank you for a wonderful class, Prabhuji.
Hare
Really,
Krishna
really
from
wonderful.
Radha Kund.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Dandavat Pranam. Hari Bol. Thank you all for kindly joining. So many of you and so much affection. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much,
Hari Bol.
Prabhu. Good to see you.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Nice to see all of you. Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Nande.
Jai.
Hari Bol.
All glories to Guru and Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
All Guru and Glorious of Guru and Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat